Welcome to January's Word of Life podcast presented by Focolare Media. My name is Nick Gianforani. In today's episode, Sonia tells us about a serious accident which has left her on a wheelchair for the past 20 years. Vicky is a specialized nurse who tells us about a seemingly impossible situation at her hospital and how her dedication and perseverance changed things completely. Romè shares a beautiful story about a school and how he was able to find assistance to help furnish it with much needed materials. This month, the scripture phrase is taken from John chapter 11, verse 26. Do you believe this? Before going to the stories, Tom Rowley will be sharing a short reflection with us.
Do you believe this? Before we consider Jesus' question, we might ask ourselves another. What is my relationship like with Jesus? Just as Martha and Jesus shared a personal and profound bond, a life rooted in prayer and love for Jesus opens the door for him to ask if we believe in him. When we pray for an intention or seek help from Jesus, do we do so from a foundation of deep trust and love for him? If we do, we will have the courage and faith to answer his question, do you believe this?
Sonia, welcome and thank you for joining us today. It is such a joy to see you and to have you on our podcast. How are you?
Hi, Nick. Good morning. How's everything?
Everything is just fine. Sonia, I recently, thanks to you, read your book, and I have it here. It's such a beautiful book. I
have it here too.
I changed my leg. You have it too. Look at that.
I have it
Changed
here
my
also.
leg for a smile. Before you share your story with us, can you tell our listeners just a little bit about yourself?
Nick, my name is Sonia. I live in Colombia, South America. I live here because I have my two children. I have a daughter, I have a son, and I have two grandchildren that are, I think it's the joy of any grandmother or any grandfather, the joy. I'm a nurse. I studied nursing. I did intensive care, and I was specialized in what do you call it, cardiology. And that gave me a lot of information about what the human being is, how we are in our essential. And that helped me a lot also for my accident and for my change of life afterwards.
Thank you for sharing that. And Sonia, when I was reading your book, it's just so powerful to read about your experience, about your accident and how that impacted your life. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
21 years ago, my life changed totally. It's like this. It's a whole change full. Because one day I wake up in the hospital and I can't walk again. That is a very hard, very shocking news. But you know, there's got to be a big God that is holding my hand all the time. Because when they told me that I wouldn't walk again, my answer was my daughter and my parents that were standing there with the psychiatrist. They tell me that I just turned around and said calmly, oh, I know it. I know I'm not walking again. And my daughter says, but how could you answer like that? And I said, you know, there's got to be a very big God inside of me, holding me and telling me that even if you have a different and a big change in life, you can always find wonderful things that you can do and you can share with. And that was God that I had at that moment.
You have that immense faith in God's love and through your whole experience. I know that you shared with me before a little episode where you met someone at the mall and how that played out. Could you tell us a little bit?
The thing is that after the accident, I was living down in Florida. I was living in Tampa. And when I had my accident, I had the Spanish-speaking TV channel, Univision, did an interview for me. They came down to Colombia and they did all the interview here. And I had no idea that that interview was shown on TV, but afterwards they had me for a whole month as the person of the month after they heard the change of life and what I wanted to understand that life really goes on and that God is there. So I went back to the US and I was at the food, well, I was with my daughter. We went to the shopping mall. We're sitting at the food court and I'm seeing somebody cleaning the tables next to our table. And I thought to myself, gosh, that's a person that probably is a Hispanic that comes to this country for the American dream. He needs money. I was just thinking that when he turned around and when he saw me, he came over and said to me, "Can I hug you?" Gosh, I'm not used to have somebody say that in a mall. But instead of getting upset, I just gave him a big smile. I said, why do you want to hug me? And he said, "You know why? Because I come from Chile. I was without a job. I have a wife and two daughters. I needed money to raise them and to have food. And so I came here to the US by myself. And I'll tell you, I've been so lonely. I've been so lonely, lonesome, sad, depressed, feeling that I can't be able of going through that I wanted to go back to Chile. And all of a sudden I saw you on TV. And I said, if this woman is able of doing what she's doing, I can do the same thing. And that's why I come here to say thank you and give you a hug. Gosh, we gave a hug with my daughter, myself, with him, and we were all crying because it was a shock. And it was so, what do you say that in English? Very enriching, very building up inside. And that has me really building up from since then because it shows me three things, Nick. And that's very much according to my book also. Unity, that's the main point in Focolare. Number two, we can share. We can share with people, with neighbors, with family. Number three, we can listen to the stories of the other people. Because this story of myself, I could have closed the door without giving the opportunity of listening to somebody that was sad. And at the same time, we had God in the middle of the three of us. Had God sharing with us and telling us, even if there are different moments, we can make it through.
You can't imagine the great joy of listening to your experience. Now, if our listeners would like to get a copy of your book, how can they do that?
Amazon. With my last name, Sonia Verswyvel, you have it in Spanish and it's in English in both languages.
Fantastic. Fantastic. Sonia, thank you so much for joining us today. It has been really a gift, and may God accompany you and give you strength and courage as he has been doing so far.
Never leave me. He's the one that pushes the wheelchair, so I need him.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much, Nick.
Okay, bye now.
Bye-bye.
Before introducing you to our next guest, I'd like to invite you to consider making a small donation to Focolare Media. Your donation will help us continue producing inspiring podcasts. Visit our website, focolaremedia.com/donate. And thank you in advance for your support. Hi, Vicky. Welcome to our podcast. It's so good to have you with us. How are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you. Thank you for having me.
It is a great joy, great joy. And tell us where you're from and where you're at and a little bit about yourself.
Well, I came from the Philippines. I now live in Detroit, Michigan. I came to the States as a nurse, but now I've went back to school and I'm a nurse anesthetist and I specialize in children. And I work here in the Children's Hospital right here in downtown Detroit.
Beautiful. How many years have you been doing this work?
Probably I would say over 15 years that I've been in this work.
So you have good experience in that field, I would say.
Yes, I do.
Beautiful, beautiful. Vicky, I was reading your experience and I was very edified to read how the miracle that happens, when you bring love into the workplace and to have that faith and trust, like, the word of life that tells us, do you believe, and I think that you really had that trust and belief that things could be resolved. So I'm going to hand the microphone over to you. So we're really pleased to listen to your story. So go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you. So I work as a certified registered nurse anesthetist, and that's CRNA here in Detroit. And our team of nurses are very specialized in this service, and we serve the sickest children here in an inner city. So some time ago, I would say 3 years ago, we lost one of our CRNAs due to heart attack. And the other CRNAs left for another hospital for the luxury of more pay and benefits. The temptation to follow suit crossed my mind, but I felt in my heart that this was not what God wanted from me. Staying behind meant more work in surgery and more responsibilities, where I had to be a clinical coordinator for student anesthetists. And that involved the onboarding process and lots of computer work. For years, we have had multiple issues regarding access of new trainees, and everyone told me, good luck dealing with the broken system. I prayed to God to give me the light to bring Him to my work, no matter what it meant. For years, we've had multiple issues regarding access of new trainees. I applied myself and I worked diligently to identify what seemed to be complicated, and I simplified it. With time, the whole process was smoothed out, and I was able to make sure that all students had everything they needed. I surprised myself and thanked God with great joy. The doctors noticed the positive change, and they would all say, "A miracle has happened." I received comments from our physicians saying, "You have done everything God told you to do." It's a miracle how the system is working. And this has been going on for 10 years. Just like in this month's Word of Life, where Jesus brings Lazarus back to life from the dead, with the grace of God and my perseverance, I was able to revive the situation in our hospital. My role has expanded even more to resolve years of problems with our resident physicians. Even seemingly impossible problems have been resolved. Our situation with the operating room got worse. Everyone was feeling the pressure and was getting disgruntled. And there too, I made the choice to put myself aside and let His love shine. I made the effort to love every nurse, and if I had a sick baby to care for or a student to teach, I did it with all my mind and all my strength in the present moment. I only had the present moment. I knew that it was God who was working through me. The former CRNA visited us recently. She was one of the ones that left us for more pay. She brought her child to our hospital for care, and she told me she missed us so much and said she would take her child to our place at any given time. She felt our love for her, and I sensed that longing. I feel that I have made the right decision in staying, and to see the rebirth that has taken place in the hospital, that gives me great joy. Thank you.
Thank you, Vicky. Wonderful. So thank you. Thank you for joining us. It was great to meet you and to have you share your experience with us.
Thank you, and everyone have a great year of 2025. Thank you.
Welcome, Romè. It is wonderful to have you on our podcast. How have you been?
Well, I'm doing good here in the Philippines. I stay here in Manila, yes.
So I'm looking forward to hearing your story. But before you share it, can you tell us something about yourself?
I am Romè Vital. I am a Filipino. Professionally, I am a teacher, but now, since 2011, I have been connected with the New City Press Philippines. Well, I come from a very big family. We were 12 siblings.
Your story that you're about to share is also so beautiful to see how the golden thread, how he made you that instrument to do beautiful things there at the school. And so I'm going to hand the microphone over to you so that you can share that story with us.
So it all revolves actually with an initiative I made. I called it mission projects. Mission projects. But let me share to you a particular experience, as you were mentioning. As I reflect on the Word of Life of January, do you believe this? I cannot help but recall my great desire to work with those who have less. In April 1988, I obtained my degree in religious education. Before my graduation, I dreamt of teaching among the poorest of the poor and to be immersed in the life they live. But this dream of mine did not come to fruition due to various circumstances. So my dream was buried, and so I thought. Since 2011, I have been working for New City, the publishing activities of the Focolare here in the Philippines. During these years, there were times when I raised the question, why this task? It seems as if I am caged in an office that limits my going outward and do something concrete for others. But I confess that I do fall into the temptation of claiming I have nothing, so I do nothing. But this goes against the revolutionary power of the Christian life that is capable of transforming every aspect of human endeavor. Since 2010, I have been visiting the community in Masbate, an island 360 miles from Manila, and the Facenda de Esperanza, where people between the ages of 18 and 59 wish to recover from drugs, alcohol, and many other types of addictions. During one of my visits, I met a 35-year-old teacher, AJ. Knowing that I was in the academy for many years, he asked if he could consult me regarding the thesis he was working on. I cordially said yes. Unfortunately, he fell gravely ill and was not able to continue his work on the thesis. When AJ's mother informed me that he was in the hospital here in Manila, I became a frequent visitor and the point person who assisted them in many of their needs until they returned home almost 2 months later. The family could not believe that I, a stranger, could be available whenever there was a need. The start of the academic year 2024-2025 proved very challenging for AJ. The classroom assigned to him lacked in teaching material and was in very poor condition. He shared to me his predicament. I approached some of my friends and I got positive replies. The classroom was repaired, painted, and equipped with educational material essential to making teaching and learning more effective. The outpouring of financial assistance made it possible for AJ to acquire a motorbike for his transport, saving his meager salary for medicine and other needs. His family members were amazed at how generous my friends were. On another visit to the city of AJ asked me if I could meet with the principal and the teachers of the school. I shared with them my adventure as a teacher and how Jesus has formed and transformed me all these years. During our conversation, that dream of mine from 1988 came to mind, and I told him about it. In the end, I said, who knows, perhaps Jesus would like to fulfill this dream through your school. And you cannot imagine the applause and smiles on the faces of everyone. Since there was lack of reading material, I emailed the director of Don Bosco Press here in Manila requesting books and other reading materials. After a couple of hours, I received a reply giving us 1,700 books of various genre for elementary and high school students. You can imagine that. Now, I needed to ask Jesus to show me the right persons that would cover the shipping expenses. In 2 weeks' time, everything was taken care of. When AJ mentioned to me the plan to have a computer laboratory for the school, I thought that this would be impossible to materialize because of the huge amount of money needed. I emailed a friend about this who immediately called me to tell me that the project I was proposing was approved. AJ asked about the school sports equipment later on for the students. Another generous donor provided for this need as well. With all this overflowing providence, AJ has come to realize how much Jesus hears our prayers when asked together in his name with faith. His happiness was not without tears. Do you believe this? The word of life says, yes, Jesus rose Lazarus from the dead, and so he also brought new life and transformed the educational system of this public school. And if this was not enough, I was asked by the principal of the school to give a workshop to the teachers in one of their in-service trainings, which I accepted.
It's just wonderful to see how we can become instruments to make all this happen, through an email, through contacts with your friends, and you just utilized your talents and gifts to be able to help. So thank you for sharing that. That's really, really special. And I want to
Thank you
thank you.
very much.
Thank you for joining us. It has been a gift to reconnect.
Wow. Thank you very much also for inviting me. And it's the joy is greater because I am able to share this experience to many people, to your followers as well. So thank you, thank you.
Thank you for joining us today. I hope you've been inspired by the wonderful stories shared, and I look forward to being with you again next month. To listen to a reflection and a commentary on the Word of Life, just log on to your favorite podcast platform and look for Word of Life Podcast by Focolare Media. There you'll be able to listen to previous episodes. I also invite you to join me each month for new episodes. You can also read additional experiences in Living City magazine. If you have a story that you would like to share, please write to me at nick.chanfarani@focolaremedia.com. Bye for now, and God bless.